The Toxic Avenger, directed by Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman, splattered onto screens in 1984 out of the fictional Tromaville, New Jersey. It follows Melvin, a 98-pound janitor who takes a chemical bath and comes out a mop-wielding mutant hero with a taste for vigilante justice. This was Troma Entertainment's first real breakout, turning schlock and slapstick gore into a signature brand. Shot on a shoestring budget of less than $500,000 with local actors and guerrilla tactics, the film leaned hard into its R rating, mixing nudity, ultra-violence, and juvenile humor like it was a badge of honor. Critics trashed it, but midnight crowds ate it up, and The Toxic Avenger would go on to spawn 3 sequels, a cartoon, video game, comic book series, a musical, and in 2023, a star-studded remake that took 2 years to see theaters. What is up, everybody? I'm Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson, and with me is Chris Anonymous, and we are talking about, of course, The Toxic Avenger. This is a show where we talk about the good, the bad, and the schlock, what we liked and what we didn't like, and then what we think the big ideas and themes are. Do you think there's some big ideas and themes in this movie?
There are some ideas and themes in this movie. How big they are, I'm not quite sure.
There are indeed ideas in this movie. That is true. Yeah. Well, Chris, I'm happy to see you. It feels like I just saw you literally right before we started. Because we were talking for like half an hour before this. But what we didn't talk about in the pre-show, because it's been kind of a few weeks now, but we have some big news. Oh, we have some huge news that Chris, you should tell people about, because I forgot to get the thing that I was going to get. So I'm gonna.
You're gonna go get the thing. So I should tell them about the thing. Okay. Yeah,
I'll go get the things. You tell about the thing. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we made a short film last year, and then this summer we entered it into several film festivals. And so we were at a film festival about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, over Labor Day weekend, and we were in the running in the horror category, and I got caught up to speed that we were at a film festival, we were in the horror category, we made a short film last year. Then what happened?
And then I don't know if you can see this, but this is a trophy for the best horror film at the 307 Wyoming International Film Festival. So our short film, Somebody's Watching You, won a little award. And so we're very proud of that.
We are. Good job.
We just had to brag that up a little bit, because some very cool things came out of this. There were quite a few other films there, of course, a few other horror films as well. And we were able to meet a lot of very cool people while we were at this festival, one of which was Cody Newton, who he does many things. He directed one film there, but he worked on like 5 other.
5, yeah.
Anyway, he is the cinematographer for The Death of Snow White. Where this is a little early for Web of Schlock, but Death of Snow White, composed by pal of the podcast, Andrew Scott Bell, who we interviewed. Is it 2 years ago now?
Yeah,
the
almost
composer.
It'll be 2 years in November.
Yeah, the composer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So we met a mutual work acquaintance, I guess. And so we were able to sort of kick it off with him. And long story short, or short story long, he is going to come on the podcast on October 13th to talk about The Death of Snow White with us.
So if you haven't seen it yet, go rent it, go check it out, and then join us for a very cool interview here in a couple weeks. Yeah.
So pretty cool stuff happening in the old world of schlock here.
In the schlock universe. The
Schlockiverse. So
good stuff.
Anyway, Make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast if you haven't. If you already have, like the video, leave a comment, rate the show, do all of that stuff because we want you to come on the Schlock journey with us.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, let's start getting into the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Before we do our good bad schlock, we like to know who's in these movies, who made these movies, where they came from, and where they've gone, where they are now.
Yeah,
Schlock.
Web of Schlock. So the directors, Michael Hertz, and it's credited as Samuel Weil, but it's Lloyd Kaufman. So Michael Hertz produced a lot of Troma films. I mean, this is all going to be about Troma, right? That's the elephant in the room of what's going on here. So Toxic Avenger, Toxic Avenger 2, Toxic Avenger 3, Troma's War, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. He was credited as director on all these, and he's still producing with Troma. And then Lloyd Kaufman pretty much feels like he is Troma. He has all the same credits, plus Toxic Avenger 4, Class of Nukem High, Tromeo and Juliet, Poultrygeist. I mean, if he didn't direct it, he produced it or wrote it or acted in it or did something. So
right.
So the guy who played the Toxic Avenger, the monster hero, was Michael Cohen, and he has a couple credits, not very many, but he was in Clerks. He was a guy standing on a corner in Clerks, but it's also that kind of New Jersey connection.
Yeah.
The woman who played Wanda, Jennifer Baptist, and the man who played Slug, Robert Pritchard, they were both in Class of Nukem High, and they're sprinkled throughout like several other Troma films. Melvin, who played the Toxic Avenger before he was mutated, that actor's name is Mark Torgel, and he was in several films and then didn't do anything for a while, and then he was back in Toxic Avenger 4 as a character named Evil Melvin, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
I haven't seen Toxic Avenger 4. I've seen 1 through 3, I believe, but I haven't seen 4.
I have not seen 4. Yeah.
That came out in like 2000 or 2000?
something. Yeah, around 2000. Yep. And I mean, that's pretty much it for Web of Schlock. A lot of these actors were local talent, and they were maybe in 1 or 2 other Troma films or some extras in some other films or TV, but not a whole lot of credits outside of Troma.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the meat of the show. Let's go into Schlock. And so we started talking about this a little bit. What's this movie about? Is it about bullying? Is it about the environment? Is it about political corruption? Chris, what are your thoughts?
All of the above, but none of them enough to like say that is the main theme. I guess probably some kind of like bullying, might makes right, sort of like even with the government stuff, you could tie in like the larger power oppressing the weaker entity. So you could argue something like that they all kind of have that similar vein running through them.
Yeah, well, we get the bullying theme pretty much ends by the time Melvin takes the chemical bath.
Right.
But I guess you could argue that Cigar Face and his crew, right, they're bullying the cop. The Mexican restaurant Stick Up is bullying,
they're bullying the patrons.
They're showing like different tiers of power. Like you said.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely feels like an escalation. So bullies targeting one person, criminals targeting the law, then criminals targeting innocent people, then the government being the criminals targeting
Toxic
Toxie, which threatens them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when you look at it like that, it does tear out into a nice thematic escalation, which I
Yeah.
didn't
I
think
mean,
I would.
I
Yeah,
think that's being generous.
we are definitely being generous here. There's no reason. There's no reason not to be generous with a movie like this.
Yeah, this movie, it's one that's going to be hard to criticize because it is Troma, and it is like, well, this was intentionally made to be
What it is.
what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's hard to critique because it's Troma, and also even we've talked about this with like Jaws and Eraserhead and some other really culturally significant uh, pop culture movies, that it's hard to separate what it means to pop culture with the film itself. And
Mhm.
this isn't as big or on the same level as those, but in the schlocky B movie universe, Troma's Troma,
Right.
right? So
It's really its own thing, and it really sort of, I
and
think, in a way, set the standard in a way for what schlock movies are.
yeah, and you know it's if I had to pick a movie to introduce Troma to somebody, it would probably be this. I mean,
Okay.
there's a handful, but I mean, this is really quintessential. Like, if you like this, this is what you're getting, and you'll probably like some of their other stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've gone down the Troma rabbit hole, and
Same.
I can't really remember like the overall aesthetic, because I just did it all at once. Like, I got into my quick
Hmm.
Troma phase and watched all the Toxic Avengers. I think I watched Surf Nazis, um, the Class of Nukem High movies.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I
No,
you're getting
yeah,
what you're getting. Like, you
you're
know what
getting
you're
what
in
you're
for.
getting. Yeah. I was talking to someone that I was telling them we were going to review this tonight, and they were asking, how much Troma I'd seen. Do I like Troma? Yada yada. And I was talking about how, like, it was probably late teenagers, early 20s. There was one summer where my friends and I were like, Troma is the coolest thing, and we just binge watched everything. And I haven't revisited a ton of Troma since then, but like once you see a handful of them, it's just again,
Yeah.
it is what it is, and that's exactly what you're getting. And if you don't like that, then just don't watch it.
Yeah. Well, and something interesting, I forgot one of the movies I watched during my Troma phase, um, Cannibal the Musical, which
Right?
was the South Park
Trey,
guys.
yeah, Trey
Yeah.
Parker. Yep.
Like their first actual movie, I believe. And so I don't think Troma made it. I think that they made it and Troma
Released it for them.
distributed it.
Yes.
So I don't know if it like is necessarily in the same vein as the other Troma films, but it is in a long line of people who have gotten their start from Troma.
Right. James Gunn wrote Romeo and Juliet.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And a factoid I'd read that I didn't realize, they would release movies or distribute movies, sometimes real short runs and like only to theaters and other things like that. But they did Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro. They released that to theaters for a short time. I don't know if it's in the 80s or early 90s, but like that just makes no sense to me. That blew my mind. I'm like, huh. But
I
again,
have no idea what that is.
it is a famous
I don't
Japanese
know those
cartoon.
words, Chris.
A very famous Japanese cartoon, basically the Walt Disney of Japan.
Oh, is that like the Spirited Away?
Correct. It's one of his early movies.
Hal's Moving Castle, Flying
Yes.
Castle.
Yes, one of his early movies.
Never heard of it.
Yes. So it's just Troma's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. So I mean, it has been a culturally significant production company.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's kind of what my main schlock thing is just that whole Troma vibe. It's hard to explain unless you've seen a lot, which doesn't help people who haven't seen it.
Well, so I don't know exactly what the Troma vibe is, because we said like kind of can't. We've like watched all of them,
Right.
and then it's like gone out of our brains. But so one of the things I think is very odd about the Toxic Avenger in general is that it spawned like this kids Saturday morning cartoon that was supposed to like be in the vein of Captain Planet, where
Right.
he, I think, is fighting
It's like
pollution
the
or
Garbage
something.
Pail Kid version of Captain Planet. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing that cartoon even exists. But I
but
could see. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say that, like, as trying to hone in on the Tromaville vibe, like it's absolutely baffling that they would look at this and go, "Oh yeah, kids cartoon,"
I,
but everything in it is very cartoony.
that's what I was going to say. The thing I've written in Schlock here is over the top cartoony.
Yeah, uh,
It's the acting is super cartoony and over the top. Some of the sight gags are straight out of Looney Tunes.
mhm. It
So
dawned on me when Cigar Face comes back and he's got the bandages covering his face and he's still
Mhm.
got the cigar sticking out. That looks like a cartoon villain,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like that's a very, very distinguishable look that you could draw and uh, make a toy out of, right?
right. Well, and if you look at the action, half of it's probably gross out slasher horror, but the other half is very Looney Tunes fighting, like punching him
Mhm.
into a can over and over and over. It's not scary. It's just super silly.
Yeah, making a milkshake out of
Mhm.
someone.
Right.
Very violent, but like very like
Cartoony.
playful also.
Yeah, that's the tone is what really struck me because I hadn't seen this for decades, but once I started watching it, it all came back to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this several times. I got this. But it's so it's meant to push buttons and it's meant to go too far, but at the same time, there's this weird almost innocence about it.
Yeah.
Like it
And that's part of my bad that we'll get into later. But yeah, you're absolutely correct.
there's something charming about it though. It's like when you were a kid and you told someone a dirty joke, but you didn't quite get the dirty joke. You just had overheard it, so you're telling it. So like, yeah, you're doing something that's transgressive, but at the same time, your innocence is still shining through.
Right.
And
Right.
there's just something so charming and like cartoony about the whole thing, and just it's so over the top. It's just it blows my mind. I was just like, huh, yeah. I have a question. As I was watching this, there were lots of moments that made it feel like a slasher to me.
Hmm.
And then I
Absolutely.
started thinking about like superheroes in general and thinking about the parallels that they draw with a slasher. Like the bad guy in a slasher and the superhero, all a Batman or someone, they have a tragic origin story where they get some kind of power,
Hmm.
and then it's usually revenge based.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the people that superheroes are attacking are criminals,
Right.
whereas in a slasher they're more like morally criminal as opposed to like legally criminal. I don't know. It also feels like perspective of like, because we're from Toxic's POV, he's a superhero and he's, he's fighting criminals, but at the same time you could flip that so easily and it would be a slasher. And I just wonder if you see a similar parallel with just superheroes in general.
Uh, Seeing the parallel with superheroes, I think the first of all, the slasher vibe absolutely stuck out to me, and there's some reasons for that that I'll maybe go into later. But thinking of that, I guess in comparison to superheroes, I think potentially that's where like the character of Batman. Different writers have tried to take him in that direction, not necessarily a slasher, but something to be feared, playing with the idea of fear and trying to trying to shoot him in a way, trying to film him in a way that relays the fear that the criminals would have upon having an encounter with Batman, right? Like he's this dark shadow that like, you know, comes out of the night, like he's stalking you. Right. He dangles you upside down from a building. You know, that really got, I think Christopher Nolan really tried to bring that out, that like he is something that he is literally trying to scare criminals. And right. In the Dark Knight, you know, the Joker comes in and says, I know why you're meeting during the day, because they're scared of the night. Like he is literally terrifying. Yeah. So in that vein, yes, he could be a slasher, and I could see maybe a parallel there.
Yeah. I don't think it's like a one-to-one parallel, or it applies to every slasher or every superhero. But then I'm also thinking, like, do they share some common primordial like archetype that is in story? And I also wonder, like, is that why sometimes when we're watching a slasher film, we kind of side with them, with the bad guy, because sometimes they're hitting the same button that a superhero might be hitting on a subconscious level? Or am I just
when we've talked about like the difference of the cannon fodder for the slasher, you have to have people that you like, but you definitely have to have people that you don't like as well.
Right.
And you're like, oh, they got to get their up and comings. Like that's the same thing as saying, well, that's a criminal for Batman or Spider-Man, right? They're going to get their just desserts.
Yeah, and I wonder if it is more of degree of poetic justice, where it's like the punishment fits the crime more so with a superhero, and maybe it's too extreme with a slasher, and that's where they cross over into being a monster as opposed to being a hero.
Yeah, I think it depends on which slasher, which hero you're looking at, right? So if it's hard to take Toxie because he fits right in the space in between.
Correct.
But
yeah,
the punishment really kind of fits the crime for a lot of these people, right? They're ultra violent. They're shooting people's dogs, they're running over children, and he literally tears them limb from limb. So that's like an equal amount of justice, whereas or like an sort of an eye for an eye, whereas superheroes, your more traditional superheroes, generally they don't do an eye for an eye. They try and stick within the realm of the law, legality. Like it's not legal what they're doing, right? They're vigilantes, so it's not legal. But there's always like this idea of we have to turn them over to the police, right? Like we can't kill them. And so maybe there's like the two genres, superhero and slasher, are scratching that revenge itch just from two different angles. One is like revenge, but like you want justice, or revenge of like you want payback,
vengeance. Yeah. And so I guess watching Toxic Avenger this time, I was struck by like, this is a superhero movie, but this also feels a lot like a slasher. And then the whole time I'm watching it, I was just, the idea of those two, comparing and contrasting those two genres, really, that's what this film did for me this time. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to think about that more.
Yeah. Well, have you noticed Toxie looks an awful lot like Jason Voorhees without the mask? Like he's got the droopy eye. Coincidence? I don't know. I don't know if anyone's talked about that. I've certainly never heard it, but
and what's your criteria for a good slasher?
Mask, weapon, location.
Okay. Cool location. Cool weapon. A mop.
And I'll sort of redefine the mask of a facial obscurement of some kind. So like Freddy Krueger, right? No mask, but his face is burned. Toxie, his face is chemically burned.
Chemically burned, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So he fits all the criteria. I guess what are the criteria for a superhero? A cool weapon, which is a superpower, something to obscure their identity, and they gotta have a place to do their vigilanteing at, right?
Yep.
Metropolis, New York City,
Tromaville,
Gotham, Tromaville, right?
which is in this, and you can see the skyline of New York from Tromaville.
Yeah. So I think we cracked a big code here that slashers and superheroes are basically the same the same
The same
thing.
thing. It's by degree and perspective, but I think that they scratch the same itch in the story need in our brain.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I'm sure there's probably some like uh psychological personality niche for each one. There's like the people that only like this kind, and then there's people that only like this kind, and then there's people that like take up both sides, right? Like I'm sure there's
Mm-hmm.
horror fans that don't care for superheroes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and then you have stuff like Brightburn
Yep. Yeah, which I
or
think would be more
Super.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Super
And then
is that a bad superhero?
no, but he's like a
Not great.
realistic superhero, and so when you hit someone with a pipe, they get
Right. Like
concussed and bleed, and yeah, it's like a realistic take in a way. It's very dark, but it's great.
yeah.
So something you mentioned at the beginning of Schlock that I want to come back to, you talked about how could this spawn a kids Saturday morning cartoon in the early
Mhm.
90s?
Mhm.
And I think, looking at your background, there's something iconic about Toxic Avenger. A deformed guy fighting for justice with a mop, right? I mean, that's the underdog, right? But it's
Yeah.
iconic. It's immediately iconic, and you don't need a hard R, gross out, violent, crass film
Yeah.
to portray such an iconic character. It's fine. That's what they did, and that's where he came from. But I think that the character design and the vibe you get translates perfectly to Saturday morning cartoons,
Yeah. Well,
visually and like aesthetically, how it speaks to an audience.
yeah. Yeah, they struck gold with the aesthetic, but it's the aesthetic that I think they eventually wound up with because uh this artwork behind me, it's interesting because there's a lot of iconic things going on here, but it's not exactly what's in the movie, right? He doesn't have an American flag behind him, right? He's not like this Toxic Avenger, the American hero. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't actually fight people with a mop. He just shoves mops in their mouths when he's done with them. And throughout the movie, he's never actually called the Toxic Avenger except by the
Right.
narrator. People call him the hero monster,
I want
and
that
that
shirt.
or monster hero,
I heart the
whichever it
monster
is.
hero. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to have that shirt. But the thing is that like while they were creating this, and I think potentially while they were creating this, they didn't have the full vision because I think they were probably just putting a lot
No,
of pieces together. It was afterward that they stepped back and went, "Oh, this is what we have. It's
correct.
this kind of movie."
100% get that vibe. But I mean, look at Friday. Look at Friday the 13th.
Mhm.
Right? Is it
Where it took so long for them to hone in on what it's going to be.
right? Yeah, you see the hockey mask when you see Jason now, but that wasn't until the third movie.
Right.
Yeah. So again, it's like realizing what you have in a superhero or a monster or something, and then like what do the audience what do they respond to, and then how do you tweak and focus that for the following. And I haven't seen part 2 or part 3 in so long that I don't remember where this goes.
They're very similar in like the nudity and ultra violence department. I do think they hone in more on him fighting with the mop.
Which
But
they should.
in the end, he's still just a big kind of muscle man
Mm-hmm.
monster that rips people apart. Uh, but which you can't go wrong with.
You can't. Yeah.
Something I wanted to ask you because I noticed this at one part in the movie. Um, do you think, or do you know of movies that this movie is referencing or homaging? Because there's a part where the two health club bad guys, they want to go start running over people again, and so they steal the car from the old lady, and
Mm-hmm.
they punch her in the stomach, and one
That
of
was
them
a
takes her cane and hits them and
Clockwork
is
Orange.
singing Clockwork
Yeah,
Orange, right?
yeah.
So that's the reference that I saw. I know that you're a lot more versed in the classics than I am. I'm wondering, did you see other things? Like, is there Gone with the Wind in there? Or
That the Clockwork Orange one is the only one that comes off to the top of that comes to mind when I think about it. But if I rewatched it, there might be more. I mean, again, there were so many references to like Looney Tunes and just cartoons in general with the way the action was staged and some of the acting and the music where they kept, was it Ride of the Valkyries they kept going back to?
is Night on Bald Mountain?
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's in a lot of classic movies, and so I don't know if there was more specific things where it's a direct homage, like the Clockwork Orange, as more like vibes from classic cinema and from cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
think I bet on repeat viewing, if you watched it with that in mind, you would find more references.
Yeah, like are there some Frankenstein references in there when he's out wandering by himself, all lonely?
Yeah, there weren't any really overt ones, like when he was by the river, he didn't meet some kid, you know what I mean?
Toss him in. Yeah.
Right. But the Frankenstein vibe was definitely there. Lloyd Kaufman and everyone else involved, it feels like they love movies and have watched a lot of movies and TV of every kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the music. One of the criticisms I saw in this was that there's like music just nonstop throughout.
And I loved
What
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think of the music in this? Like, I think it did a lot to create the vibe of the movie.
The music's in my good, so we can get into that when we get to good. But yeah,
Okay.
I loved the music in this.
Well, what else do you have for Schlock?
That's really about it. When we talked about just Troma in general, the superhero slasher parallel, the whole thing is schlock. There's so many silly little moments. Like, I love his voice. It's so out of the blue when he first talks.
Yeah, I think let's talk about the voice for a second, or not exactly the voice, but the way Melvin changes. Like I feel like he's fundamentally not Melvin anymore. Like, that story is done. Once he changes, like his personality changes.
Yeah,
right? He's like, I would never harm you.
It's very Jekyll and Hyde. It's very like, this is the person he always wanted to be, but he's white and nerdy. I don't know, shy,
too skinny to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like,
he
he's polite. He's like, before he's supposed to be like a pervert or whatever. They call him a perv, but he's I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, it was like watching a monster go through puberty, Megan. Yeah. In fact, his mom, when he's changing in the bathroom, she keeps knocking, and he finally makes that sound. She's like, "Oh, he's finally gone through puberty."
Well, and is that really what this story is about? It's a coming of age story. Like,
I mean, it could
Melvin
be
actually
interpreted
just
that
had
way.
never gone through puberty, and it's once he got maybe it was like a big thing of hormones that just like super jacked him up, and he just went through puberty.
Well, the other thing is that Slug and Bozo and Julie and Wanda, they created a monster because nobody wanted to see Melvin no more. So they're at a gym, right? They're at this health club, and they're all muscular and in shape and youthful, and they have everything going for them except for they're horrible human beings who run over children.
Yeah.
And but they hate Melvin for what he represents, and then they go so far as to
The working
emasculate
class.
him by making him wear the tutu, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
he's this weakling who they emasculate more by making him wear a tutu and then kiss a sheep in the dark. And then everyone's pointing and laughing. And then when he jumps through the window and turns into the Toxic Avenger, he turns into the opposite of what they tried to do, which is also
Right.
interesting. Like they wanted to take a weakling and make him weaker and more emasculated, and instead they turn him into someone who's smarter, faster, nicer, stronger, more mature, albeit uglier and toxic. But he still has the burnt tutu, right? Like
Right.
that's also part of the costume is the tutu, the mop, the disfigured face. Yeah, his voice deepens. He becomes nice and thoughtful. Um, so I really think that it's like a Jekyll and Hyde where they forced him, but it's like the opposite of that, where
Mhm.
they tried to turn him into this, and they actually made him into something that they couldn't stop and represented the opposite of what they stood for.
Yeah. I don't know if this has happened at all. I can't remember, but it would be cool to see him like revert back to Melvin. Something happens to him and,
That would be
he's like, "Oh
great.
no,
Yeah.
I'm Melvin again."
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. And
that's been done 100 times, with these types of superheroes. They take
well,
away Wolverine's powers, they take
yeah.
away Spider-Man's powers.
Well,
They
think about the
Yeah,
Incredible Hulk. That's also the
right,
Jekyll Hyde, right?
right. And when he hates being the Hulk, but once he can't be the Hulk anymore, he's like we need the Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That would have been an interesting take with this later on. Like I don't know what I don't think they did that in part 4, but I would like to go watch that and see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What else do you
Um,
have for Schlock?
So, like you said, there's great moments. I love the samurai swords on the wall at the Mexican restaurant. Very
It's called the
out of
Mexican
place.
Place, and I
The
thought they
Mexican plates.
right, and I thought that they were just being silly, but that's actually the name of the restaurant in real life.
Yeah. um, when we see like the various montages, uh, let's see, the lady's opening up the popcorn. It's
Mm-hmm.
just popcorn
Oh,
kernels,
and
and
it's already,
he
and she starts eating
opens
the
it for her,
popcorn. See,
and
and
it all
that's
pops.
you know what else this really reminded me of is like commercials.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's straight out of like a silly 80s commercial. Like, can't pop this popcorn? Try this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you were talking about earlier the innocence that this movie seems to have, but then we go directly from that into like gratuitous sex or ultra violence, and that's what I want to hone in on for a second.
Okay.
Just because I have a little note to myself that says no dogs were harmed. Right. So in that scene, they shoot the dog,
Yeah.
which is uh, a great way to show a cold-blooded killer. We've talked about the opposite of save the cat is kill the dog.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just, it's such a weird scene
They
to
don't
me.
just shoot a dog, they shoot a seeing eye dog.
Right. Right. It's doubly worse.
Yeah.
And the person that they killed.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
yeah. He asked for it. He was
but
like the
what's,
dude from Die Hard. Like, shut up and sit down. I
but
didn't care.
what's crazy about this scene is that there's these very terrible things going on. We've talked about uh, the mean spiritedness of some modern slashers, and I saw this as a criticism of the movie, is that it's mean spirited, and it definitely has those moments in it. Shooting the dog, the
What they say
Stara,
after they
his
shoot the
blind
girl.
girlfriend,
Yeah.
yeah, is
Yeah. That's
like,
dark. That's real
and
dark.
she's while Toxie is beating him up, she's like screaming like this very terrified sounding scream, right? And when
Mhm.
Toxie's uh, doing the whipped cream on the guy. It sounds like he's just choking to death, like in real life. Right there, there are these pieces in it that are very, very mean spirited, but the way it's edited together and the music that's going and just like the like you look at the dog, they show the dog that's supposed to be shot, but you can see the dog is like clearly like panting
Right.
and breathing, and it's
Evidently,
got spaghettios on it or what.
yeah,
Whatever.
evidently that dog was trained to slide across the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
like
like, that's awesome. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so
but it's put together in a way that like yeah, it's ultra violent, but it's put together in a way that makes it somewhat disconnected from the reality of actual violence.
so two things to comment on what you're saying. Um, the first one is the really dark things are done by the bad guys,
Well,
right?
I mean, uh, you could argue
Toxic
that
kills some
Toxie is
people. Yeah, I mean, he kills some people and he does some dark things, but like the really dark
well.
stuff is the bad
Well, let
guys.
me throw this out. What I read was the guy with the painted face, Patrick Kilpatrick, which I think we've had him in some things before. Maybe class of
99?
1999.
I'll have to look him
That
up. Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
sounds familiar.
evidently he quit after he had to point the shotgun at the baby.
Right. Which is like, yeah, that would be like a very disturbing thing, right? You don't want to accidentally Alec Baldwin a baby, right? Like
Yeah,
I could
yeah, you
see how
don't.
a person would not be happy with that, right? Because that is a very disturbing scene and action to
And the
take.
dialogue they say and the things they do, it gets real dark. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
but here's my main point. So I just wanted to point out, yeah, Toxic does some dark stuff, but the real dark stuff is the person who kills the dog is the bad guy. So again, that makes you feel better when Toxic goes and kills him.
Mhm.
But you talked about how it's edited together and talking about the innocence, and we are talking about the cartoon of it all. Think of Tom and Jerry. Think
Right.
of Itchy and Scratchy.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
what's go. I mean,
Itchy and
that's
Scratchy was the commentary on
on
Tom and
on
Jerry of how ultra violent it is.
correct, but that it's the same thing that's going on here. Is that
This is
there's
like
a
the next level up. So Tom and Jerry, Itchy and Scratchy, uh, Toxic Avenger,
right?
as
It's the
far as
live action
violence
version
goes.
of Tom and Jerry where I wouldn't say the consequences aren't there because the consequences are there, but it's edited together in such a way, and the music and then when you mix in innocent slapstick and it's so much visual humor that it creates a disconnect that makes it more palatable but also more disturbing at the same time.
Yeah,
It's a weird feeling watching some of the scenes in this movie, and I suspect I would have that same feeling watching a lot of Troma now.
yeah. Well, and especially if this is the first time you were seeing it and you haven't seen movies that take that approach to violence
Right.
or approach to these subjects before with a sort of tongue-in-cheek vibe where it's like, oh, this is something really terrible, but we're going to do it in a very silly way.
Right. And you talked about like with horror films before how you like even the grossest stuff, you're like, yeah, but it's just, red dyed corn syrup, right? And some
Right.
oatmeal and stuff like that. So it's
When they ran over the kid's head, apparently that was a melon with a wig on.
right, but
But it
man, is
looks
that a
very like, oh my God.
it's so effective. What's
Yeah.
what's I think the most disturbing thing there is the two girls getting out and taking pictures.
Right. Afterward.
Right, you're like, what dark thing is this? Like these are bad people.
Yeah.
Like you just
Yeah.
think there's some like like just out of high school bullies, right? That is like, oh yeah, it's just your typical high school bullies, and then they like to drink and drive. Okay, it's the 80s, I get it. And then they're like, oh, let's go run this kid over. And you're like, oh, okay. I got real dark real fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that
Do you have anything else for Schlock?
I mean, the whole thing is schlock. I love.
Absolutely.
So I mean, we'll probably talk about little bits I love, but I can mention a couple here before we move on. The dating montage.
Hmm.
Just that whole scene, and all the scenes with his blind girlfriend, I just love. They're so silly. And then at the end, when they have all the tanks and all the guns pointed down at the tent,
Yeah,
and they're letting him wake up, man, I laughed out loud. That was so great and so
yeah,
just straight out of a cartoon.
yeah, absolutely. Like it's the legion of people, and they're all holding guns up, but they'd all like shoot each other. If they
Uh-huh.
actually shot.
Right. And then, but it's like the guns are at the same angle as the tank. And it's
Yeah,
just, it's so hilarious. And
yeah,
there's so many sight gags. Yeah, I loved the visual sight gags and the visual grammar. I don't know, tone of the film. I thought there were so many
hmm,
fun things.
right. Megan says, "I'm interested to see what they kept in the remake." Yeah, and that's something I might I'll sort of touch on in the bad, but I think there's a lot of things that even if you made a movie today where you're like, you know what, no f's given,
Yeah.
like we're just gonna do whatever. There's a lot of things that you still wouldn't be able to get away with uh,
No, there's so much
in
that you
today's
would.
world.
Mm-mm,
Yeah.
not at all. Yep. Well, should we
So
move into the bad?
yeah, let's move into bad. Uh, what are your thoughts
Okay,
here?
I don't. Again, we kind of qualified this at the beginning. I don't have a lot of bad, uh, per se,
Well,
because
it's
it's
hard to say a bad because it's sort of intentionally bad, and for me,
correct.
that's bad.
So I have bad taste question mark. Like
Yeah.
if this isn't your cup of tea, this isn't your cup of tea. Like any of the dark, weird things we've been talking about, if that sits weird with you, you're probably not going to like this. It's probably not for you.
Megan's
Um,
pointing to herself. She's like, me.
right? If we were good on a technical level, this I do have one big bad, and that it's
Okay.
episodic.
Oh, within the movie itself, you don't mean the
Within the
other
movie
movies?
itself, it's too
Yeah,
episodic. They really should have um
absolutely agree.
they should have had drugs getting dealt out of the club, and Bozo and Slug should have been working for the mayor, and he should have seen something he shouldn't have seen, and the thugs in the middle, they should have related to the back to the mayor somehow. I mean, they kind of do, but they should have tied it all together more, because it feels like there's 3 or 4 separate chunks of him just beating up bad guys, but the bad guys,
Mhm.
except for kind of working for the mayor, don't really have any connection. So we don't get a through line of like, oh, he was a janitor and he saw drug deals and he couldn't do anything about it. And he tried to do something about it, but he was too weak. And so they decided to get rid of him. And so they dump him in the toxic waste. But little do they know, they created a monster hero
Right.
who's come back to kill them all and to set the town right and to get rid of the drugs in the town. Like that
Mhm.
is a through line story that would have really tied it all together, where there's so many little fun bits in the middle that I really like, but it's not really strung together by any clear storyline, any
Yeah,
through line. So that's
yeah,
that's my
totally
biggest
agree.
bad, except for the fact that it's a movie that's in bad taste, but that they
Yeah,
know that, so it's not that's not a full on critique.
yeah, totally agree. Um, is that it for your bad?
That's really it for my bad.
Okay, so yeah, mine kind of go along some of the same lines. I have a few other ones, but yeah, the health club. So apparently, apparently before this, what Troma did, and this makes a lot of sense, is that they did sleaze films. They did uh, I guess erotica. Like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Then they hit it with this movie, and then they sort of, I think, maybe changed their business model a little bit. But they were originally making a movie in this health club. Lloyd Kaufman, he read something about horror being dead, and so he thought, I'm going to make a horror movie, which doesn't sound like a great business idea. If you're like, oh, this thing doesn't work anymore, I'm going to do it. But I guess it
Admires
worked out.
tenacity. Yeah.
But so the health club is a very important part of this movie, and he keeps returning to it, and I think it just doesn't make sense the way they have it set up.
No.
Because it seems like Toxie could just go there and deal with everything all in one fell swoop, right? Like it could, because once he's Toxie, he goes back and he gets like this random drug dealer,
right?
And then he leaves. Then he comes back and gets one of the girls, and then he leaves, and then he comes back and gets one of the other girls, right? Like, why is he coming and going all the time?
Yeah, and you could have explained that away with like he's still like his energy and strength, like his vitality gets sucked out really fast because he's still toxic. So he has superpowers, but they only last for like 20 minutes at a time. But yeah,
well, and
it
seems like he goes into like some sort of rage, that maybe he's not fully in control of. Yeah. Even though he doesn't change into the Toxic Avenger, he just goes into a rage.
Yeah, like when he kills the short lady, and then he feels bad about it because he thinks that she was an innocent woman. Well, it turns out she was a criminal. But there's that whole thing of like, I just like to kill people. It's a problem, honey. You should probably move back home.
Yeah. So the other bad I have, the tutu, the tutu costume. Not that I dislike it. It's that I feel like it's not utilized well enough. So in the cartoon, the cartoon is actually like my first experience with the Toxic Avenger.
Same.
And the cartoon, he's still got that on, but they changed the colors around. So it looks like he's more like in a tank top and jeans, which I always thought like looked super 80s and cool. And then I saw the movie and I'm like, oh no, that's supposed to be a tutu, but you can't really tell because it's so messed up, like it's so burnt and destroyed. And I just kind of feel like it's underutilized one way or another. Like I think with the tank top and jeans look, that really leans into like the American hero sort of vibe. With the tutu thing, I think that plays into the cartooniness of it, the absurdity of it. But I wish that it was more pink with green polka dots on it, right? Like I wish that it would have been more prominent. To me, it just looks like this drab sort of thing. And I think they carry that basically throughout the movies.
Got it.
Like
the
costume doesn't stick out.
I can see that. Double down on it or do something else.
Right. The ending, when he punches the was it the mayor in the stomach and pulls his guts out or his heart or whatever. I don't feel like that really solves the problem at hand.
It does not.
He doesn't expose the corruption, right? And makes himself look like a monster.
Yeah, he literally just killed the mayor, who was going to kill him, but he doesn't prove that the mayor was corrupt. There's, like if the mayor would have admitted to being corrupt, like got tricked into it in front of everyone, and then everyone gasps, and then he kills the mayor, it would have made more sense.
And I think that they were like getting there because the people go out and stand in front of Toxie to shield him, and they just needed to have more of a breakdown from the mayor where he's like I own all you people, you can't stop me from doing what I'm doing, and I feel so safe about it. I'm going to tell you everything that I'm doing. And then Toxie gets him. And then everyone's like, they got the person who is making it so that everyone around here is absolutely terrible.
Right. Yeah. Because he was the big bad guy. Like Bozo, you thought was going to be the big bad guy because he was the one from the beginning who was just crazy. But then it quickly switches to the mayor. But then there's no the mayor getting his just desserts. He got killed, but he didn't get exposed.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I would have liked to have seen that. I mean, that's a writing issue, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So my last big bad, and you kind of touched on it, questionable, and talked about a little bit with, what's in the remake and what's not. It's very dated. I would say it's exploitative, which, I mean, it is supposed to be an exploitation movie. The problem I have with that is twofold. One, I just watched a documentary about filmmaking that had Lloyd Kaufman in it, and he kept referencing that like all the people that are obsessed with money and and hookers and drugs and pimps and stuff. They're all in Hollywood and kind of acting like making these schlock films is like more of a pure form of art. And it's sort of like, exploitation is literally about making money, right? You're picking a niche to exploit so that you can sell your film to people, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, that sits pretty weird with me. And
he's got a good trailer and he's got a good poster, man. What do you need?
yeah, good trailer and a good poster. It's all you need. But the second part of that, my problem with it being exploitative, like I said, we talked about, they already have the iconic thing that they need to make this movie successful. The deformed man in the tutu with a mop, right? They struck gold. They didn't need to do anything else to sell it. They didn't need to put any other thrills or chills into it. They could have dialed back on it. And the thing is that by the end of the movie, right, we have all the people standing up for Toxie, that he's become a folk hero in Tromaville, New Jersey. And we know that from the making of this movie, that a lot of these people are just like real people. They showed up to be a part of this. Probably weren't paid it. A very communal movie. And it just bothers me that there's like children in it that probably weren't allowed to see this movie that they created, right?
Yeah.
Like, why go through the trouble of making something that sort of brings the community together that the community can't enjoy together?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I agree with it for the most part. The only pushback would be, you talk about how we talked about like the iconic Toxic Avenger with the mop and the American flag, and like, and how it translates really great to a cartoon. And you're saying they had that thing that's all that they need, so why did they have all the other stuff? And like, hindsight, yeah, 100%, but they didn't probably know that while they were making it. Right. So it's like, well, yeah, you didn't need the all the sex and the ultra violence to make a great movie starring the Toxic Avenger. But if that's what they're into and they didn't know that they had this hot property while they're making it, then how much can you fault them for that? Where, like, I agree with you that they didn't need it and they probably took it too far, but that's kind of their shtick. Now, I mean, to argue with myself, they could have changed that in part 2 and part 3, which I don't think they probably did. I'm sure they kept the exact same formula.
Pretty much.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
But they do license a kid's cartoon out, which, like, that's
kids, you can watch this version of Toxie.
Yeah, but that's to me, if I could only watch one Toxic Avenger, I haven't seen the new movie yet. The one I'd want is the cartoon.
Right.
And maybe that's because that's what I saw first and grew up with. But it also, there's an innocence to it that this one had as well, but it was tainted by all the other things.
Yeah. Well, and Megan says, ignorance doesn't always equal innocence. She hated this movie. She hasn't told me whether or not she hated it more than Battle Royale yet or not, though.
I guarantee she didn't hate it as much as Frogtown.
Let's see.
We've reviewed some movies. We sure have.
So that's all I have for bad. Let's go on into the good about this, which we've talked about some, but let's make it official.
Yeah. Okay. So good. The campy 80s-ness of it. You said it's dated, and that is a bad, but also like it's so 80s. It's such a time capsule. It reminded me of like Slithis in the way that like these are real people in real places, and you're seeing a time capsule of another point in history. And I thought that was really cool. The sight gags I loved. The practical effects I thought for the budget they had were pretty solid and pretty fun. I love everyone hamming it up. All the acting was so over the top. Bozo was probably my favorite, man. Just that mop boy's really freaking me out.
Everyone talking through their teeth. I'm getting stressed here.
Yeah, I wish he would have been in more movies. He only has like 2 credits, but man, Dude, I loved that guy. And then my big good is the music, not necessarily the score, but like the needle drops, man. I loved the songs that they had in there. That opening one, Body Talk by Sandy Farina, or Farina, so good. Yeah, and it just sets the tone. It feels like it starts out as this like weird infomercial for like a gym in the 80s that you should join.
Yeah, right.
And it just totally sets up everything that I love about this movie. So yeah, those are my good. And again, if you know what you're getting into and you're along for the ride, it's a fun schlocky time. Do I want to watch Troma every single day? No, I don't. But there's not to say that there's not lots to love, and in the right mindset, you can really have a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally agree. My goods, they're all basically the same. Love the music in it. I love the Night on Bald Mountain whenever they show them. I don't know. There's just something about that like tickles me so much.
Yeah, and they just keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
Like it's like
hilarious.
plays 4 times, I think.
Yeah.
The
cartoonishness over the top characters make it all very memorable. Even if some of it is stuff that you couldn't pull off today, it's very hilarious, and it's very Simpson-y, right? Like where there's all these people in the background that you could pick out, and probably couldn't follow like a story arc with them, but they are these background characters like with full personalities, even though you don't hear anything from them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and there were some of the characters I just loved. The teenager at the end who's sitting on the stoop, and once he's getting upset with the kids about they wanting to kill Toxie, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go stop him." And just his performance, it's so good. It's so over the top, and like just. It's a performance that you can only get as a non-actor or an actor who hasn't done a whole lot. And that's not a diss at all. Like there's something raw and either innocent or / ignorant, whichever, probably a combination of the two. But it's charming. Or like when they're all with the cop and him are sitting around with the kids eating ice cream, and they're like, yeah, but it's the government. We're just small fries. We can't stand up to them. It's just, it had a 1950s kind of wholesome vibe to it that you're like, it's so wow, what's the word?
Troma.
Yeah, that's not the word, but we'll go with that. What else you got?
And that's basically it. I love the idea of the slasher hero. I think that's a very interesting concept that there's probably some very fertile ground there.
If we review some of the other Toxics and or we do some superhero movies, and just slashers in general, it'd be cool to keep that in the back of our mind as we're watching it and seeing if there are other parallels or if we're just kind of riding the Toxic high.
So, all right. Well, I think that is all we have for this show. Megan says that she still hates Battle Royale more. So we're gonna find something. We're gonna find something that tops it. We swear. But we got some big things coming up. We have some big things coming up. October 3rd, we're gonna try something new on the YouTube channel and do a live stream of watching a movie, Attack of the Giant Leeches. So make sure you come and check that out. And again, we're going to have Cody Newton on to talk about his film, The Death of Snow White, on October 13th. Thursday, Friday, October 13th is the time. But until then, I'm Gabrielus Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous. We've been compelled by Schlock, and we will see you guys next time. Schlock on, guys.
I am